Hi everyone and welcome to the Back to Blighty podcast. My name is Becky and I'm joining you from the south coast of England where I live with my partner, our spaniel called Molly, and sometimes our son when he is home from university. This is a podcast where I talk about all things spinning, weaving and knitting related and any other things that kind of take my fancy. So welcome if you're a new viewer and welcome if you are a returning viewer. It is so lovely to have you with me. I can see it's already going to be one of those podcasts where it's hard to get my words out, but I have my tea and I've got everything set up. I've got quite a bit to show you today. It's only been sort of 2.5 weeks or so since my last podcast, but I have been knitting like a demon and I thought, had a couple of hours spare, so I would pop on and show you what I've been up to. So I'm going to have a slurp of my tea, because tea is the answer to all the problems, isn't it? Okay, and breathe. First of all, I am wearing a new finished object. So this is the Love Note sweater, which I'm sure a lot of you know already. You've probably already knit it. I'm a bit late to the party, but I bought 2 skeins of some merino nylon fingering weight yarn from Cookston Crafts, the lovely Claire, who is a Scottish dyer. And this is in the Outlander colourway. Now, I am a big Outlander fan. I love the books, I love the series. So it was totally my bag and the colour is absolutely beautiful. So this yarn, as I said, is Outlander. It's got these beautiful blues and greys, but there's these little flecks of like a rusty orange colour, which are just beautiful. And I palled it up with some Drops Kids silk. I'm so happy with the result. So I'm going to stand up and show you a little bit of detail. Excuse the squeaking of the rocking chair, but yeah, I absolutely love this combo. So I did my usual thing. That is where I follow the pattern for the yoke, although I did just cast on the rib. I think the pattern says to do a provisional cast on and then pick up, but I just chose to work the pattern in reverse and do the rib first. I did the yoke and then I did my own thing for the sleeves and the rest of the body, so I didn't follow the pattern. I just worked it straight down to a length I wanted, worked the sleeve straight down to the length I wanted, and I was going to do the same sleeves as the ranunculus, but I really felt that actually just doing a 1x1 rib was the answer. But yeah, it's really pretty. I think the colour's coming out pretty well. The colour's slightly warmer in here today, so I will pop in a couple of pictures that I took outside just so you can see the colour in daylight. But it's so beautiful, this yarn, and perfect for the season, because Droughtlander is nearly over and the new series begins the beginning of March, which is very, very exciting. So yeah, love it. And the other thing is Claire has now started her own podcast and she is going to be dyeing up some new Outlander inspired colourways ready for the new season, so I will be checking that out. Not a lot to say about it really. It's a really lovely knit, it's a really easy pattern. So yeah, if you're a fairly new beginner knitter, it's really not daunting. The pattern's really clear and perfect. Love it. So that's my first finished object. My next one is a hat, and this is the Bow Hat by Layla Raven. It's on Ravelry, but look at those cables. So I knit this, I decided I wanted to use up some of my stash, and I knit this in Let Lopey in the, I think it's Ash Heather colourway. It's basically the leftovers from my Braids of Grass sweater. Had to think about that. But it's a lovely, lovely pattern. It comes with a cowl as well, actually. It's a paid for pattern in Ravelry. It comes with a cowl, and I just wanted a bit of a slouchy kind of beanie thing going on, but I'm really, really pleased with it. I've worn it loads and it's super warm because it's Icelandic yarn. It's lovely and warm, and it kind of has this lovely halo as well. Love it. yeah, not a lot to say about it really. Pattern's fairly straightforward if you're used to cables and slipping stitches and things like that, but I do recommend the pattern. It's really, really lovely. And this took just over a ball of Let Lopi, so I've used up pretty much every single scrap of that in my braids of grass and in my bow hat. So yeah, very pleased with that. I don't think there's an awful lot to say about it really. Yeah, just really nice. It was kind of nice to have something other than socks on the needles, and I am really enjoying hats at the moment, so yeah, really love it. Okay, my next finished objects is a pair of socks, and this is a pair of heavier weight socks. And this yarn, I haven't got my sock blockers, never completely organised, am I? But this yarn is Noro Silk Garden Sock in the Agno colourway. And I was inspired to make these by Stripy Cat Yarns, who was making them on her podcast, and yeah, I thought I want to make a pair of DK weight socks. This is actually sport weight, and I just kind of did 48 stitches, I think. My afterthought here, wedge toe and a little bit of a cuff. So these are going to be like house socks. So they're just going to be for me wearing around the house just to keep my feet warm. And I'm really interested to see how the yarn bears up. Because obviously there's some silk in there. I'm not sure they're going to last all that long, but we will see. It's a bit of an experiment. So I'm very, very happy with those. They smell really good. So yeah, looking forward to popping them on my feet and sitting in front of the telly or knitting with an audiobook, and yeah, keeping my toes warm. So they're great. The last thing I have as a finished object is a weaving project. And I think I was working on this when I last spoke to you, but I can't be sure. I decided I was going to use some yarn by West Yorkshire Spinners to make a wrap. And I'd made a scarf in my last podcast, but I don't really like thin scarves. I like something that I can wrap around a few times, so I kind of feel nice and cozy. So anyway, I got some West Yorkshire Spinners Colour Lab in two colours. The grey is Stormy Grey, and the multicolour, if I show you the tassels actually, you can kind of see the colours better. So this is the Stormy Grey, and this here is Woodland Awake. So they're DK weight yarns. I used an 8 dent heddle. I have a Kromsky Harp Forte, a 24 inch, and I used the whole width of that to make this wrap. And it's come out amazingly well. Now, believe it or not, this is a houndstooth pattern. But what I didn't take into consideration, which I should have done, is that the multicoloured yarn is quite variegated. So I didn't get the very definite stripes, if you like, in the houndstooth. But I still really like the overall effect of it. It's quite bright, but the grey does tone it down and it makes it look very blue. So it's quite long. So it goes from here all the way up to here. It's quite long, but it looks lovely with like my denim jacket. So I think in the spring it's going to look fabulous. But yeah, I wanted something that I could really sort of twist around a fair few times so that it is kind of nice and warm around my neck. And I think it's going to look wonderful. So yeah, there are a few, oh, my cushion fell and I sat on it, went up a few inches there. There are a few mistakes because I am a new spinner. I got my loom for Christmas and I am quite new, and I was very careful. This was really quite difficult to work in when the light wasn't good, because you couldn't tell unless you looked in certain lights that you might have missed a warp, and sometimes with the rigid heddle, when they go through, they can kind of get a little bit stuck and you have to be careful. So I would do a bit and then I'd put it in a certain light and I'd think, oh, I've skipped one, I need to take it all back. So I was very, very careful, but unfortunately on the reverse, there are a few little, I don't know if you can see there, a few little ones that were missed. But you know, it's for me and I still really, really love it. I'm so happy with it. The drape is gorgeous. What always amazes me is that when you take it off the loom, it's quite rigid and quite firm, and then when you block it, it just drapes beautifully, and I'm very, very pleased with that. I have a heddle which is for kind of DK weight yarn, and I really want to get a couple of heddles so that I can use fingering weight and yeah, finer, so I shall be looking into that, but they're not cheap, so at some point I will definitely invest. But yeah, so that's all done, and I'm very, very pleased with that. But then I was a little bit intrigued because I had some left over. I used 2 balls of each colour, and I had literally loads left over. I almost had a whole ball of each after doing this project, and I find it very difficult at the moment to gauge what I need. Like with knitting, if it's a sweater or something, I kind of know what I need, and I can make a rough estimate, but with weaving I can't, because you get a lot for your yardage. But I wanted to see how the yarn knitted up, and so I decided to make a sock. Now you'll notice that that's singular, that's just one sock, because I made one and I don't like it. So I'm not going to make another one, but I thought it was a really good kind of experiment, so I can show you what it looks like knitted and what it looks like woven. Here is the sock. Now, do you know what? On camera it doesn't look too bad, but it's just not my thing. I don't like the gauge of it. I just, yeah, doesn't do anything for me. It's darker than that in real life, but it's a good experiment, so I'm going to show you them both together so you can kind of see how they look. Yeah, see, now on the camera I'm thinking, shall I make the other one, because I quite like it. I don't know, we'll see. There's too many socks to make, so I don't know. This might be a finished pair on my next podcast. See, it's funny, isn't it? You step away from something for a week or so and then you think, actually, I quite like that. Yeah, watch this space. I have no idea. Right, pop that down there. Okay, what else have I got? They are all my finished objects. I have some whips, some that are old whips that have been going on a while. So I've done a little bit on my yawl sweater, I've done a bit on my railway shawl, and I've done a bit on my slip stravaganza shawl. I'm not going to show you because there's not much progress, so it won't look much different compared to when you saw it last time. So I'm still sort of tinkering away on those occasionally, but I have cast on 3 new projects. Does anyone else do that? Like, you have plans and then it's like, oh, I just cast something on, like on a whim. So yeah. Okay, the first one I have is a hat. Now, I was gifted some gorgeous yarn. I'm going to get it out here and show it to you. This is naturally dyed and it is beautiful. It's a DK weight yarn and it is by Peyton Daughter, and it is dyed with dock, cochineal and logwood, and it's 100 grams, 240 meters, so it's British merino, and it is absolutely beautiful. And I wanted to make something really special, and I really had the urge to cast on another hat, and I wanted to do cables because I kind of felt that the yarn really kind of spoke cables to me. Sometimes yarn does that, doesn't it? You kind of look at a yarn and think, I can see something with that. So I had a look on Ravelry and I cast on the weaving hat by Very Busy Monkey. It's a paid for pattern, and this is as far as I've got so far. This speaks to me massively. So this is quite a complicated cable pattern. There's a few charts for it, and every other row is a rest row because obviously it's cables and it's in the round, but yeah, you do have to concentrate on it. It's not for the faint-hearted, shall we say, but I am absolutely loving how it is turning out. It is just gorgeous. And the fit, there were a few people that had done the project and they said that it had come up a bit short, so I just made the ribbing a little bit longer before I started the pattern, and I think I'm on the last bit of the chart. I think it's going to be absolutely perfect. So yeah, really loving it. The yarn is divine. I'm so impressed with it, and yeah, so happy to be given the chance to work with it. So thank you so much, Lorraine, for sending me this beautiful yarn. So this is going to get finished soon, but it does take, as I say, a little bit of concentration, and so yeah, just tinkering away on that, but love that colour. It's so beautiful. So that's a whip that's now on the go that I cast on. Okay, the other cast on that I've made is living in my lovely, not so dodgy bag by my lovely friend Ali from Little Drops of Wonderful. It just about fits in there actually, and I need to sort out my little cord because it's starting to fray a little bit, so I must do that at some point. So this yarn is Viola DK, and I got this from John Arbon a long time ago. I bought the 52 Weeks of Shawls book, and I intended to make the Wildflower shawl, which is a gorgeous shawl. It's amazing, I love it. But I kind of feel that I've got quite a few shawls. I've got 2 still on the go, and I'm now weaving, so I kind of thought, what else can I use this delicious yarn for? And I thought I would cast on a garment. So this is Viola DK. It is absolutely beautiful. There's kind of greys and creams and kind of pinks in some lights. It's just beautiful. Actually, I've got a skein here, so let me tell you what it is. It is just 100% merino. So yeah, 100 grams is 250 meters. So yeah, there's the label. It's a bit yeah, battered. It's been in my stash a while. So yeah, so I kind of got it out and I thought, what would I like to make with that? And I really thought some sort of slouchy number would be good. So I decided to cast on the Campside Poncho, which is a pattern by Alicia Plummer. And it is knitted flat. I'll pop a picture in here actually so you can have a look at it. It's knitted flat, but it is just beautiful. Right, getting in a bit of a state now. And this is what it's knitting up like. So it's basically an eyelet pattern, but it kind of gets, the eyelets get further apart as you move up. Can't really see there. As you move up. And yeah, I didn't swatch. I was very naughty, didn't bother swatching. Because it's a poncho and there's loads of positive ease, I didn't bother. But I am working on the front and I have completed the back. So here's the back. That's as far as I've got. So it's the kind of shape we're getting, and it's just beautiful. Love it so much. And I thought it would be really nice in the spring to have something that you can just throw over that's kind of not like a big wool jumper. It's got a bit of air in it. So I'm really enjoying this. It's very mindless. You can see it's going to be quite baggy and loose, which I like. And I kind of think it would be nice to wear sort of in the spring when you're wearing a dress, but sometimes you might get a bit cooler and pop it over the top. So yeah. Really enjoying that project. So nearly off the pattern on the front. So I'm getting there. And of course, because it's a poncho, there's no sleeves. I've just got to do the neck, stitch together the shoulders, and then I think there's a little bit of ribbing around the side. But you know, don't listen to me. I might have completely made that up. But I'm not winging this one. I am following the pattern. It's basically just straight down sweaters that I tend to wing once I get past the yoke. But yeah, so I'm going to pop that in there. It's getting a little bit big actually for that bag. So yes, I'm really enjoying that, and actually it's quite nice to work on something flat. I tend to work in the round for a lot of things, and I don't mind purling, so yeah, but it seems like a really nice pattern. It's going really well so far, and I'm really enjoying that, and the yarn, yeah, loving the yarn. Okay, now the last whip that I've got to show you is a spin. So do you remember, or you might remember if you watched Vlogmas, oh, just going to stretch over there, I prepared some wool laps and spun with them, and you know, I've got actually the rest of the bag here. So wool laps are just the bits that are pulled off the end of the carding machines when they're preparing fibre. And these are the bits that are like seconds, so they're not good enough to sell as they are, you know, ready for spinning, because they're not quite as good as they should be. So what they do is they bag them all up like this, put them in a bag, and you can buy them for like hardly anything. So this bag, I can't remember how much it cost me, it was something like £10, £12, but it was a massive bag. So in my Vlogmas, I kind of showed you how I prepped that fibre. Oops, that's gone on the floor. And I made like a big layer cake, and then I prepped it all by hand and then spun with it. And I got loads of yardage. I came out with a DK weight yarn, and I've been knitting with it. So this is the yarn that it produced. It's not very neat because I'm near the end of my little ball. So this is the yarn it produced. It's actually a bit darker than that really. It's not as bright as that, it's quite muted. But there's some greens and some reds and all sorts in there. There's some sparkle. Yeah, it was a really interesting experiment. And the yarn is super squishy and lovely. There is silk in there, Shetland, merino, you name it, it's probably in this ball. So I spun up the yarn, and then I didn't actually show you what it looked like in the skein because I just really wanted to cast it on. I'm going to show you a bit of a close-up actually of how the spin came out. So it's pretty even. In places it wasn't quite so even, and that's because the fibres were so different, so I had to kind of spin them slightly differently. But I wanted to make something out of it, and I thought I don't want to make, you know, a pair of mittens or a hat or anything like that, because I had quite a good yardage. And I thought, I know what I'm going to make. I'm going to make the Stockholm slipover, which I have made before. It's a really lovely pattern, and this is how it's looking. Look at that. As I say, it's much more muted than that in real life. But yeah, I am loving working with it. It's beautiful, and it's kind of striping, which I like. In fact, you can see on the back that it's kind of more stripy, and I kind of think it's really fun. And I have a dress that's like a really deep rust colour that again I want to wear for the spring, but I might need something a little bit warmer to pop over the top. So yeah, so I have finished the edges the rib around the armholes and the neck, because all I have left, oh, and it's on the floor and it's now tangled around the tripod, all I have left is this. So I am going to carry on until I run out of yarn, but I really love it. I kind of like the fact that it looks like it's hand spun and it looks kind of homemade and rustic. I really like that. So yeah, really looking forward to getting that finished, and it is so soft. I mean, you can see the drape. It's got lovely, lovely drape. And yeah, if you haven't tried the Stockholm slipover, I'm just trying to think who it's by. I want to say Petite Knit. I haven't written it down, but it's a really great pattern. If you go down to the description bar below, you will see links to my Ravelry project pages and things like that, so it will be on there. I'll make sure I update it. But yeah, what do you reckon? And this cost me £3 or £4. That's all it cost me for a proper lovely wool slipover. So yeah, I am so happy with it. Very, very happy. So it's going to be a little bit cropped, but that will be perfect with the dress. And yeah, it's going to be so warm and lovely. Love it. So very, very happy with that. Okay, what's next? It's all, yeah, just ignore that and pop that down there. Okay, I think I need a drink. Mind you, it looks like I've got yarn in there. Just ingesting now. Merino. Right, okay. I have a confession. I have a frog. So I was working on the Snefeld shawl. I'll pop a picture in. I was using some hand spun. It was the first thing that I'd really spun with a view to make something. And I was making the Snefeld shawl and it was sitting in my stash, and I had a really good sort out a little while ago and decided that I'd fallen out of love with it. Partly because the pattern didn't work for me. I found that I was having to frig some of the instructions, and I didn't like that very much, especially as it was a shawl that was worked in the round. But also I didn't think that I was ever going to actually wear it. So I have frogged it back and I've saved the yarn, and I might put those colours into a weaving project later on down the line, but I just feel better that it's off the needles, haven't got to think about it anymore. And I was actually knitting along with Lynn from Calon Yarns, and yeah, so sorry Lynn, I've bailed, but yeah, it just wasn't for me anymore, and life's too short to be knitting on things that don't bring you joy, so that's now gone. Okay, what else have I got? I have got a spin on the go. I bought some fibre from World of Wool, and this is called Gin and Tonic, and it is gorgeous. I literally spun this up yesterday because I just wanted to see how it worked, and I wanted a yarn with neps in it. This is merino and tussar silk with viscose neps, I think, but it is just so beautiful. Let me show you again. It is so lovely, and the colour is absolutely gorgeous. And in my head, I wanted to make a garment. I wanted to make something maybe a bit colourworky. In fact, I'm thinking maybe the Zweig, because I haven't knit that, and obviously I'm always very late to the party. So I thought this might be really nice for that lace yoke. And then I bought some carded Perendale in this lovely teal colour. I'm going to get it out of the bag. Oh, bear with. They're all in these bags, but they're kind of like so vacuum packed that, yeah, you can't really handle them. Let me get it open. Okay. So this is the fibre here. It's this beautiful teal. So together, thinking they might work really, really nicely. So yes, I've got a carded bat. So I'm looking forward to spinning that long draw, because obviously it is carded and it is a bat. I can't shut it again, I'm going to have to pop that down there. And that's just in their teal blue. I wanted to just show you the actual fibre of the gin and tonic. Here it is. So that's what it looks like, and that's what it spins like. Just gorgeous. But you know, we're a long way down the line before that happens, so I haven't got to make any decisions now. I bought 100 grams of the gin and tonic, and I bought 300, I think, no, 200 of the Perendale. Yeah, haven't spun with that before, so that will also be quite interesting to see what happens with that. While I was there, because you know, I bought some other yarn. So I bought, this is what I bought 300 grams of. I bought 300 grams of Shetland, just in their natural grey. There we go. Oh, do you know, Shetland has to be the best smell ever. It just smells absolutely amazing. So this is just top, yeah, 300 grams. And I also bought some carded Morit, and this is a sliver, they call it. Let's see if I can pull a bit out without breaking it up too much. Yeah, see, it doesn't smell as good, but it's just in this lovely brown. Apologies for the intermission there. The card was full, so I took everything off of the SD card in the camera, put it back in, and it still said it was full, so I've had to reformat. So hopefully we're back on track. Oh, I don't know what's going on there. So yeah, this is the Morit, and I'm really looking forward to seeing how that spins up. So it's quite woolly and quite rustic, but there's a softness to it. So yeah, I don't know what it's going to be. Maybe something in colour work later on, but just a beautiful brown. Really love that. I'm really loving the kind of more natural colours at the moment. Speaking of which, I have a couple of new adoptions as well. One of them is one that I meant to share with you on my last podcast, but I couldn't remember where I'd put it. And it is some Sandnesgarn. I'm not even going to try and pronounce what it is. But it's this lovely wool, and it is Norwegian, and let me see, it is 100% Norwegian wool, and it's produced in Norway. And I want to make some slippers. So I bought some slippers. I'm going to take this off now and share these embarrassing things with you. I bought these just over a week ago. They were dirt cheap. We have wood and tile floors in most of our house because we have a dog, and that's how I like it. It's easier to keep clean and everything. I bought these like a week ago. And I'm fed up with these slippers that seem to not last me very long. I live in my slippers at home. So I decided I was going to make some, and I'm going to make some thrummed slippers using this yarn, and also using, hold on, sorry, I dropped them on the floor, the rest of the wool laps as my thrums. So they are going together to be a pair of slippers. So I'm really looking forward to seeing how they turn out. I'm not going to lie, I'm a little bit nervous because, yeah, you've got to knit them really big and then put them in the washing machine to felt. But I will take you along that journey with me, and I'm really looking forward to working with this yarn because it feels absolutely gorgeous. Sorry, there's a lot of rustling in today's podcast. The other thing that I bought, because I want to make another tank top. We always called them tank tops. People call them slipovers and vests nowadays, but you know, I'm a child of the 70s and we always called them tank tops back then. But I want to make another one because I find that they're really versatile, especially for work, because you can just wear a blouse underneath or a dress underneath. So I bought some West Yorkshire Spinners fleece. So it's 100% British wool in this gorgeous brown. Now it's coming out really orangey there, but it is quite a muted brown. It's very autumnal, and yeah, it's just a DK weight. I've got 2 skeins of that, and I've just been looking on Ravelry at some of the options, but yeah, this is going to be a tank top or vest or slipover, however you want to, whatever you want to call it. So yeah, looking forward to working with that. It's really soft, really lovely. Doesn't really smell, but you know, you can't have everything. But yeah, really excited to be trying that out as well. Other than that, life's been pretty much the same here. Been working really hard. I feel like I'm ready for half term already. But yeah, just been carrying on doing the usual stuff, so not a great deal to report here. Anyway, I am going to stop there, stop wittering on, and yeah, get back to the chores. So I hope you have a really good weekend wherever you are, and I will see you soon.